Hello and welcome to this video demonstration of FireMon's unified change request process as a function of Policy Planner. Policy Planner is a complete workflow solution with the ability to submit and request approvals for changes, automate those changes on firewalls, and integrate with ticketing systems. This makes it an ideal solution for any change control process, allowing collaboration between customers submitting tickets, administrators who verify what needs to be done, submit the formal requests for change, and then implement those changes, and a change control board who validates and approves the changes. For the purpose of this demonstration, after configuring a workflow to use Policy Planner, we will focus on the core functionality of change submission, rule recommendation, and approval. We'll start at the Security Intelligence Platform's Administration Web Interface. Our first step before using Policy Planner will be to click on Workflow and Workflow again, which is where we will create, well, you guessed it, a workflow for Policy Planner. Click Create and give it a name as needed. We will want to click into the new workflow, then into the Auto Design Change task to deselect the Always Run option so that we can manually select what rules are needed and where to configure them. Now that we have our workflow in place, let's go to the Policy Planner web console to work on our first ticket. So let's say a server admin requests access to new application servers from two new segments. An administrator's first task is to find out where exactly this access would need to be configured if it's not already in place. This could take some time depending on the size and complexity of the security infrastructure, but with Policy Planner, we can input the exact changes needed and find out within seconds whether or not the access is already in place. If configurations are needed, Policy Planner can recommend what change to make and where in the policy it can be placed. So we'll now proceed with creating a ticket for the requested access. In the top blue ribbon, click on Create Ticket to the left and enter a brief description of the change in the summary, the requester name, and email. If there are any attachments to add, we can do that here, or we can do that any time during the ticket's existence. Keep in mind, especially for testing purposes, tickets cannot be deleted from the system after they have been created. So it may be in your best interest to keep your naming convention professional, if you know what I mean. Click Create and the ticket will be logged in the system, so now let's open it up and proceed to fill out the required information. Before anything can be done, the ticket needs to be assigned, and in this case, we will assign it to ourselves. Once we've filled out the application name, application owner, priority, due date, and business need, we'll go to the next section labeled Change Plan. Click on the Add Requirement button and notice there are several options to choose from. We are interested in adding connectivity. So we'll input the first requirement from the user in this section, including the specific source and destination servers, service and action, and any other relevant info. Click the Save button to the right, and the first requirement is finished. Here's where things get fun, and time can be saved instead of having to review the entire security network manually. To find out where we should implement the requested access, click on the Recommendations button. Policy Planner will then begin to search all of the normalized data to find out if the access exists. And if it does not, it will recommend where it should be placed along with what objects need to be created on the firewalls. The system will find all the areas where the access exists, especially if there are broad rules that encompass large networks or zones. If so, Policy Planner may recommend creating a new, more specific rule placed over the broad one, but as it says in the title, these are just recommendations. Ultimately, it's up to the administrator to decide which firewalls will be touched, and we can do that by checking and unchecking the firewalls in the rule recommendation page. We can also go back up and run the rule recommendation only on certain device groups. When we're finished with the rule rec page, click Next, which will take us to the review page. Here, we make sure that the information to be changed is correct, and we'll click Finish. Now we'll click on Add Requirement once more to add connectivity to the second server. enter all the pertinent information, and click Save once again. We'll use recommendations once again to choose which rules will be created on the firewalls, and click Next to review. Since we're done with this section, we can hit the Complete button and move from Design to the Review phase. The change can now be assigned to another user for the initial peer review or to a change control board group email. We're simply testing, so we can assign it to ourselves once again. Since there are two changes requested, both need to be either approved or rejected. So now, let's imagine that we are the approver who knows that only one of the servers has been created and the other will not be on the network for another 2 weeks. We will approve the first change, but reject the second. As stated in the comment box, we need to give some sort of input when rejecting a change, so we'll do that now. Since one of the changes is rejected, the system will not allow us to approve the entire change, so we click on Reject, which will send the ticket back into the design phase. Now that we have changed phases once again, the ticket needs to be assigned. Since we cannot implement the second change yet, we need to remove the second access requirement from the ticket. We do this by first deleting all the changes on the right, then we delete the requirement above that. Now we click Complete again and move to the review phase. Keep in mind that some of these functions take Policy Planner some time to complete, so we can ensure that the system is working by watching the progress bar at the top. The ticket needs to be assigned for review. The specific requirement needs to be approved or rejected, and then the ticket can also be approved or rejected. This moves us forward to the implement phase. In a customer environment, this would be the step where the person configuring the change assigns the ticket and makes the needed changes, whether that is the security administrator or a general change team member. After each portion of the change is configured, we can click on the pencil to the right where we have the option of marking each one as pending, staged, completed, or failed, and we can input a comment for each. Once the changes are updated, click on Complete and we move to the Verify phase. If we recall, as a normal function, FireMon detects changes on the security devices being monitored and automatically runs retrievals. We see how Policy Planner now leverages this functionality by checking if there have been any changes made on the device in question. This is rightfully named auto verification. But if the system is not able to automatically verify the changes were configured, we can manually verify by clicking the checkboxes. However, if change logs are not found on the system, this is where we would consider rejecting the change and having it go back to the implementation phase. Keep in mind that to auto-associate new rules, the rule has to match exactly what was proposed, even the name of the rule. Since we are only demonstrating the basic change control functions of Policy Planner, the next phase after the verification is completion. Even though there are no further steps that need to be taken, we can still add comments, attachments, or download the ticket details as a PDF. In conclusion, Policy Planner is a powerful workflow-based module that aids in the change control process, unifying the many functions that ensure a change is properly reviewed and approved before implementation, and providing the necessary documentation of the steps along the way. Speaking of which, one of the tabs we see throughout the phases is the ticket history, which shows when we enter into the different phases, as well as the phase iterations. As mentioned, we only discussed the basic core functions of the change process, but there is much more, such as the ability to automate implementation after a change is approved, create customized workflows for various processes, and even integration with third-party solutions such as ServiceNow, offering a customer relationship management experience with Policy Planner in your business enterprise. For more information about Policy Planner and the rest of its very capable functionality, see the Policy Planner user guide at usercenter.firemon.com.